Hi, very good day. I hope you are all doing good. I'm Satish, the co-founder and technical consultant for Laming Solution Technologies based in Bangalore and Kerala, Thrissur. So today's session is about the design thinking approach, which is quite important for all the aspiring design engineers. It need not be for a specific industry, for an automotive. It could be one for an aerospace or shipping, construction, technology, healthcare. It could be for anything that this particular unique design thinking approach, it has to be practiced. It is not something which comes from a theoretical world, but of course you should have some backup or it made you understand what does it take to become a holistic design engineer to think as a design thinking approach as one of the major aspect before we actually get into the concept evolution of a product. So that is the reason why this particular session has been prepared and made so that you get a basic understanding of from where to start the journey in this particular design thinking approach. So for which let me run through the slides. I'm pretty sure that this slide should be visible for you. So welcome once again to this session of design thinking approach where we go through a systematic approach because I am quite sure that most of you would be understanding about these five different phases of design thinking approach. It's about empathizing to understand about the customer needs. You need to define the root cause and come up with a solution, and then you'll have to ideate is talk about how you think out of the box and think of a product which is unique and niche and which can be introduced and which is tangible with the application need, the functional need, and as well as with the requirements of your end customer. And then you will have to do some non-expensive or a less free or a zero-based prototyping method by 3D printing or SLA, SLS by a very low cost or low investment means by which you try to understand the product which you're trying to evolve is going to work or not. And then you take it on to the user and then they give you the feedback. And based on the feedback, then again, you have to do a n number of iterations to understand and you have to finally come up with a solution which can directly meet with the end user. So to begin or to before beginning that, I will just give a brief background about myself. I have around 25 years of experience in automotive product design and development. I started my career with tooling of the injection mold making and manufacturing, and the rest of my 20 years I was into the various tier one organizations. I was handling the Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland, M&M, and as well as GM in the accounts for interior and exterior trims. And it involves both the build to print and as well as FSO's design responsible projects. And I'm more of a corporate, less of a researcher. And now I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also an adjunct faculty with BITS Pilani for systems engineering course. So now you all need to understand what is the end objective of a design thinking process. So as you all see on the screen now, where a person is trying to fly. So it is very obvious that most of you try to scale up or most of you would like to have a profitability on the business point of view. It's only from business point of view, even from your individual career point of view also, you would always try to admire that you need to scale up in your career and is having a linear growth, if not a non-linear, at least most of you would wish to have a linear growth. So for which, yes, your predominant knowledge, technical knowledge, your theoretical knowledge, whatever you accumulate through your academics, which brings forth most of your need for the successful career. But again, coming to the specific topic of design thinking, it is all about how or what sort of mindset design engineer like you should possess before you actually start your journey with the product design evolution. So first and foremost thing, what is most important thing is before you draw a document or before you start making any proposals for a specific product, you just need to understand psychologically what does a customer need. It could be for, you can take any example or your live example, whatever you are facing currently. So your customer, I'm pretty sure that most of you would be working with different industries or different organizations, different products. And it is not that every time you are going to have a successful product for your customer. The customer would have already thought of a product which should be evolved and he would be giving you to just develop. So that is not an actual design thinking approach. That is already the customer has prepared something. He has got something on his mind, and he doesn't have any manufacturing facility or a design facility. So he's asking you to develop it and give to him so that he can make use of it for his other applications or for his continuous his journey. But this design thinking approach is something where a product is already being evolved. He is facing some issues, and you need to re-evolve or redesign the product. Maybe it could be from scratch, because whatever the product or the portfolio the customer has developed earlier, it may not be meeting the requirements of the end customer. But this particular design thinking approach is where you are trying to ideate or evolve a new concept from the scratch. So for that, understanding of your customer needs, or knowing him by person, by knowing him by his technical needs. So you need to have a lot of collaboration with him. You need to sit with him and to understand what exactly he's trying to evolve, or what is the problem that he is facing with the current product, so that it makes you think and come up with a required or a possible solution by having a cross-functional. Means you cannot do everything by yourself. So you need to emotionally try to understand your customer needs, and as well as your functional needs, because functional and application will combine together again with the emotional need of your customer. That's what being pasted over here. So before we get into this particular definition of a new product or ideation of a new product, you need to have a mindset or a positive mindset to think out of the box of innovating a product. So that comes with some a little bit of experience, even though this particular platform or this particular session talks a brief introduction, on a theoretical front. But I would highly encourage the students or young engineers like you to practice this on your day-to-day life, on your current product or the project in which you are evolving. So ultimately, this particular design thinking approach, which also improves to reduce or to shred the cost in the operational, it gives more profitability or market share to the portfolio, and also it will help you to the scaling up of your business. So it has multiple magnitude for this design thinking approach. So when you look at the principles, even though I'm pretty sure that most of you would have some brief background about all the 5 phases of the design thinking approach, but this particular principles which talks, or I will just give a brief introduction to maybe to top up the knowledge of what you must be having for yourself. So before you actually start developing a product, as I told earlier, your thought process should be more attached with the customer need or with the end consumer. You might be producing a product for a customer, but he would be selling it to a consumer who's going to use it on a day-to-day basis. So you should directly talk to him, the end user, and try to understand his pain points and try to develop a product which can make his life more easy. So for which you need to have a more of a collaborative or a team effort. It is not something that you are going to develop by yourself. You have to talk with your internal agencies as your internal organization, department people who are more bound to manufacture and produce. So they could be from quality function, development function, marketing function, manufacturing, engineering. So everybody has to come together, and you also need to have a collaboration with your external interfaces, with your customers, with your suppliers, with your vendors, so that you get to evolve the product synchronized manner. It need not be one after other. Sometimes you also need to develop the product in parallel for each of the commodities. So you'll have to have a good hands-on collaborative or an open-mindedness to talk with each one of their members of how you're going to develop a product. So let's talk or park this iteration, as we all know that you should always know, because at the end of your design thinking approach, or once the testing is completed again, it's not necessary that you're going to end your study of your design thinking at testing. So again, the testing means the customers or the consumers are going to use it and they'll try to give the feedback. So you may have to do iterations one after other after the completion of your uh, your ideation process. So you should also have the mindset for an iterative process. You should think from a holistic point of view. It's not necessary that you just need to think from a functional point of view, but you should have to think from a deep vertical thought process about how a product is to be evolved and how it's going to meet the requirements. And you should be more optimistic, be positive, take things on a positive stride. Maybe you take good pictures from your suppliers, your customers, or your internal agencies. Try to be more optimistic. Don't be a negative part of it. And as I already told, the process or the evolution of design thinking is something you're going to develop something of a niche product. It's not already being produced and you are trying to solve it. That is something which you do it on a regular practice through a root cause analysis by using 5A analysis or 8D analysis or a Ishikawa diagram, and then you try to rectify the product. But here is something that you are trying to evolve some new product, so by which you will have to do some design of experiments. So the DOE also takes place in a very well or a well-versed way. You should also have a mindset to do an experimental process by which you are trying to evolve the product. So this is a byproduct of your customer experience, employee experience, and brand, which all gives you a cumulative of a new innovative product. So in short, if you want to be a successful or if you want to develop a successful product by using a design thinking approach, most probably you should have all these skills or mindset to evolve a product. So let me just walk through a couple of live examples or case studies pertaining to the design thinking approach. So if you look at this particular MRI facility in any hospital, I think it should be very generic. It is already being there since many years, the MRI, CT scanning, EEG scanning. So this particular case study it's belong to a pediatric for young patients. Uh, so all the parents who are being accompanied, they should not feel frightened. Or generally, I think it's very common practice that the children would always feel nervous by the time they flat or they lay flat on the bed and they get themselves transported inside this tunnel and then these imaging takes place. So the experience what they what they experience or they this kind these patients feeling what is being experienced is something very traumatic. So they not be good to again visit once for the sake of completing and practice they do it and they never think of coming back because by generic that's what they feel. But this engineer from GE Healthcare, he has thought something out of the box. He want to make something innovative, a end user centric process where you see that he had made a very picture cube and setup which makes the young patients and the parents don't feel the nervous as how they feel without this sort of a setup, even though the technicality or the functional scanning imaging and all this going to happen by itself by the journey of going through the experiment or this particular practice, it's not the same as it used to be on the earlier. And this is one example from an Oral-B electric toothbrush. Where previously we or the engineers only used to look from the functional point of view. They have the buttons, they have the touch controls, which are mere sort of functioning. So as an end user, if I have to buy this equipment and you have to use it on a daily basis, even I am not very user friendly to this particular brush, or it looks very complicated. I don't know how to operate the buttons. Even though the application of this particular electric brush is going to meet the requirements, but as a consumer, I'm not happy to use it. So to make me happy, the engineers have made this feature or the touch buttons or a presetted mode of operating. So now the life of an end consumer has become more simplified. So this is another example of how the design thinking approach has been practiced. So in the same case, even you can think from maybe I will just take a small example about one particular setup. For example, if you see that okay, I'll just take an example of the same one metro train application where you have the a train that section, and you have a couple of yes, a roof arches where you're going to place your luggages, and then you're going to have a ceiling panel over here, and then you have a grab hold, and eventually you will be having a flow systems here. So when we focus on this particular portion of your roof arch, so this particular roof arch may be having some uh, yes, some locks on both the sides. So you have some locks on both the sides. On this is the panel or the side roofers, and then you have the ceiling over here. About this. So when you look at this particular product of this roof arch, you have the panel, and you have the one cam lock number one and cam lock two. On the interface is you have the ceiling, which is another. So you have one, two, three, and let's mark this as four. So these are the four different aspects. So if you see, you have developed these panels. Everything is as per the design, as per the DVP, or as per the functional needs. As an engineer, you have developed the concept and you have manufactured and fitted it on a train. But during the journey, you would find that there's some rattling noise is occurring between the ceiling and the side roof arches, the side panels of the train. So what happens is that okay, then you'll be doing some root cause analysis to understand for each and every component level, from system to subsystem, from subsystem to a component level. You will do a root cause analysis to understand which function is getting failed. Okay, and then you will come up with a root cause issue, and then you're going to define what is the solution for it, and then you will try to redesign the product, or you will try to modify the existing design, and you will relaunch it, and then you will continue the journey of this particular production. So that is one scenario. That is a very generic or a very normal practice of solving a product. But the moment when you talk about the design thinking approach, the design thinking approach is where you are trying to talk to the end consumer who is going to make use of this transit. So one customer is maybe your Alstom or BML or Titagar, who is going to get product manufactured and they supply to the Indian Railways. And then there are daily users like general public who would be using or would be sitting on the train and traveling for hours, how much of the time they're going to spend. So they'll be experiencing their own, from their point of view, their experience on this particular product might be different, not from a customer point of view or the buyer who is buying a product from you. You would be just theoretically relating his product, the needs. But from an end consumer point of view, he might be having his own story to talk about this particular panel in terms of ergonomics or in terms of it could be of anything, some pain point which your consumer or the end user is going to experience. So in that condition only, you will have to come up with a plan B or a completely a niche product, which need not be completely scrapping your existing product, but you can try to at least ideate with a new proposal by understanding the end consumer, and by which you are trying to evolve the design or a product by which and the process. So this particular phase as these five different phases of your design thinking approach, where it talks about the ideation, that then you go with the defining of the root cause and coming up with a proposal, and then you are trying to do the prototyping, then you're going to do the testing. So this is something which is a very common way or by process by which you are going to evolve a new product. So for the evolving a new product, you must have a different sort of a mindset, something out of the box. You should try to think in and bring in features. So that is what this particular topic of design thinking approach it all talks about. So you need to understand the customer needs or the end consumer needs. It's not about the customer needs, it's more about the end consumer needs, by which you can go through this particular five different phases. So in nutshell, as a design engineer or as a prospective industrial design engineers, the way how you evolve a product on a day-to-day basis, right from the RFQ to the SOP, that is all fine. It's very theoretical basis, but or a very functional way how to evolve a product. But when you talk about a design thinking approach, it is something where you have to evolve something new out of the box, something unique, which you are trying to conclude with the end user problem statement. This is one of the areas, and this can be even be practiced as a day-to-day basis when you are trying to develop any new product. I think this design thinking approach should be something which has to be in practice, or maybe for one or two projects. When you get used to it, then you will get to understand more about this particular process. So thank you, and that's it from my side. Thanks for being here for this session. Thank you.